Hi! Alright, everybody. Merry Christmas! If you celebrate, and if you don't celebrate Christmas, happy holidays. It's actually the day after Christmas, so that was a lovely time. Hope everybody's having a great holiday. We have Charlie over here checking things out. If you hear any weird noises, that's him. I sped read a lovely book. I read 19 Clouds and a Blackbird by Agustina Rica. So this short story collection was originally published in August of 2020. It's horror fiction, psychological fiction, and it's a collection of 20 stories, which is where the title comes into play. 19 Claws and a Blackbird. I really enjoyed it. I will say it didn't resonate with me as much as I thought it would. I think that part of it is because I'm not like a super horror enthusiast. So if you want, I would probably look up warnings just to kind of be aware of some of the topics, because it ranges. Not that they're all disturbing, but some of them are like a little more disturbing than others just because they hit on topics like unaliving and some weird fantasies, like serial killer vibes. Anyway, I did really like a few of them. Okay, so I think some of my favorite ones were Mary Carminum. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that right. It's a story exploring misogyny. It really grabbed me because it follows a character who basically has this competition with his friend, and whoever brings like the hottest girl to their outing in first place of the competition. So they're gonna go to see a rock band. Also, this is a spoiler for this tiny short story. If you don't want to listen to what happens in this short story, I'll put the timestamp. This narrator goes to pick up the girl and she's wearing like this blue dress. She's got her hair curled, she has it up in a bun, and it doesn't fit the vibe at all. Like, he thinks she looks stupid, that she would have looked much better if she actually like dressed as if she were going to see a rock band, which is ironic because he's wearing a leather jacket that like he apparently never wears, and he doesn't want to take off his leather jacket because he's wearing a Black Sabbath t-shirt. So it seems like, you know, he's insecure in what he's wearing, even though obviously he's being very judgmental and rating her on a scale of 1 to 10. She leads him to where the rock band is going to be, and there's nobody there, and it's this house, and they're like led through like this stainless steel door, and I was so ready for some weird stuff to happen, because in what world would you be led through a stainless steel door and like being led underground, like under, like in a house like this? And it leads actually to this room that is set up with a stage and everything, but everyone there are basically girls, and they're all dressed in these same outfits. There's no equipment up on the stage, there's no music playing, and this man, the narrator, like after he had grabbed hands with this woman when she was leading the way, he says it's sticky and he can't get this black substance off of his hand. He's really getting unnerved. He can't find the bathroom. There are 3 guys sitting at these tables, but they're alone and they're like staring off into the distance. He's just waiting for his friend to get there because he wants to hightail it out of there, and he already knows that he's probably going to lose the competition. By the time that the music is starting, all of the people on the stage are wearing crowns, singing about Mary, the mother of Jesus. The woman is like staring him down because he's laughing uncontrollably. He's really trying to hide it, but he thinks it's hilarious because like one of them is playing an electric guitar that's not even plugged in. He gets ready to leave. He's freaked out because they all start running towards him. And he's like, oh my God, because when he gets to the door that he entered, there is a statue of a woman like with her arms outstretched, with like pleading face, with a blindfold on, and like blood seeping down, right? Like, I think one of the things I really liked about this author was her imagery. And I also really liked that the stories were all told from different perspectives. Like, I kind of expected at the beginning that they would all be told through a female perspective because that's what it was at the beginning. But then, of course, like, this one is told through the male perspective. And some of them were second person, some of them were first person, some of them were third person. Anyway, he freaks out and he's hit over the head. He wakes up and his outfit is changed. He's just thinking, oh, my friend needs to get here, my friend needs to get here. And then his friend is there, but he's still disoriented, and he realizes that he can't talk or can't do anything. And he's drooling, kind of like one of the men were drooling at the tables. He realizes he can't control himself. He's trying to tell his friend, like, hey, we need to get out of here, but it's too late. He's like, days have passed, I don't know how long has passed, but like, I actually think I'm not minding this music after all. Like, I could, you know, like, he's basically accepted his fate, which is, I don't know. I really loved that one. That one was probably my favorite one. I found the very last one to also be one that I really enjoyed. Okay, so the last one is called The Solitary Ones. It's about this narrator that needs to go to see their family. I think it's right before New Year's. I'm curious if it was released in 2020 for the holidays, because the very first story takes place around, oh wait, no, it takes place on New Year's Day. And the very last story takes place, I believe, on Christmas Day. Okay, so I'll tell you what happens in this one, although it's also likely that you might not want a spoiler. So if you don't want a spoiler, I'll put the timestamp here, or you can just like click ahead a lot. In The Solitary Ones, it's about this woman who's on her way home for the holidays. And by home, I mean like from work to wherever. I think she's meeting her mom. So she calls up her mom and says, hey, I'm so sorry, I'm gonna be late. And her mom is very disappointed in that. She's like, okay, no, I'll take the last train, I'll be there. She's running for the train. Train smells awful. She says that train line A or whatever always smells like a dead dog or something, just horrific, right? So she finally makes it because she almost doesn't make it, and it's completely empty. And she's like, oh, thank God, because yesterday, you know, I was packed, I was pushed up against the wall. This woman was talking to me, her breath smelled so bad, but at least she was nice. She creates this fantastical image of her running back and forth and how funny it would be, but how also inappropriate it would be. And, you know, she's not gonna do that. But all of a sudden, like, the train stops and she's like, this is weird. She goes to the driver's seat and no one's there. She's like, okay, whatever. And I mean, it's just creating this tension because, you know, like, I think as women we are, okay, I won't speak for everybody else, but I have such anxiety about going places alone, around strangers, like anything could happen. And definitely, like, I had good experiences riding trains and stuff when I was abroad, and I loved it, and I actually felt very safe abroad. I was very wary, of course, of anybody. Like, here, I'm the same way. But there's something haunting about an empty train. I'm just kind of conjuring images of, like, Fallout 4 and... is it Doom? I haven't played Doom. Metro? Yeah, I think it's Metro. I think my brother was playing that. And I think there's also, like, a lot of abandoned, like, places like that. And it's just scary. Like, Call of Duty. I think Call of Duty Zombies had some train scenes. Or was that Left 4 Dead? Regardless. It's such a scary idea. And so her phone was about to die. So she turned her phone off, which is also just so scary. Like, oh my God. Like, no. And so she had to get off the train and she's like, okay, I have to walk to the next train station. And it's completely dark. She steps away from the tracks in case the electric comes back on. She can't see anything. And says that she thinks a mouse, like, went by her ankle, but she's also scared that it was like some unknown thing that lurks in the dark that she doesn't even want to know the nature of, right? But she finally makes it to stairs and she's like, yay, stairs. She's like even talking out loud to herself. And so she's crawling up these stairs and somebody offers her a hand. Yeah. And so she's like, thank you. Well, she gets up the stairs and, like, it's all walls. And she's like, hey, where's the door? Whatever. She's like, help, you know? And nobody answers her. And I'm just like, oh my God. because it seems that it's orchestrated, you know, it's orchestrated by like whoever was driving the train, that this is like, oh my god, I just can't even imagine about like the torturous kind of like, oh my god, it just drives me insane. Especially like complete dark, but also like complete walls. I can't handle stuff like that. Anyway, yeah, and then she gets to the train platform and there's two guys in worker suits waiting on a bench. And she knows that they're waiting for her. And that's the end of the story. Okay, so those are the two stories I'm going to talk about because I think that they were two of my favorites. The first one was my favorite, not quite because it was scary, but because I loved the imagery and just like this cult-like appearance. The last one creeped me out a lot. Augustina Bastarrica was born in Buenos Aires in 1974. Alright, so I don't have it here to reference because I gifted it to my friend. She loves Mary Shelley, horror, short story collection, so I thought that she might enjoy it. I also loved reading about the author in the back of the book, which anytime that there's extra info, I really like to read it. I'm so excited to finish the book, so I'm like, oh man, I just gotta get through this. But also, I really like to see what they have to say, like inspirational wise, and I like that this author did put her inspirations for the book. I know a lot of times the author would just give their thanks to the editors and whatnot. She talked about Mary Shelley, Frankenstein, women authors in horror, and, you know, the new life of women authors in this generation. She stated some of her inspirations, some of the people she read, like Stephen King. I myself am not a Stephen King fan. I did read The Shining and I liked The Shining a lot. And I like the movie The Shining as well, even though I cannot watch it. I just can't take the bathroom scene. There's another scene in there I can't do as well. Oh, I just can't do it. I'm sorry. I've watched it several times, but it's just not for me. Like I said, I'm not generally a horror person. She stated that some of her inspirations as being Anne Rice with the Vampire Chronicles. I read Interview with the Vampire this year, and it is maybe my favorite. I think I read a book that might also be my new favorite if it's not that one. Regardless, it's way up there for me. I love the atmosphere, I love the writing. It gives me like that Baroque feel without it being Baroque. I don't know if that makes sense to you at all. Stunning. Anyway, so that was an inspiration, a lot of the very first horror authors. And then she also talked about The Yellow Wallpaper, which I haven't read. I actually never heard about it until maybe like this past year. A coworker of mine mentioned it. Just commentary on like, women being hysterical in society and how people can take advantage of that. And I actually own Pet Sematary by Stephen King. I don't think I'll read it. I did try to read it. I read maybe the first 2 chapters. I already had the feeling that I would absolutely hate it. Not because it's like bad craft wise, although it was like really not my vibe. Like I really do like a certain type of writing. I'm not saying it was dense. I just don't know how to describe it. I don't think it's bad writing. It's just that like I can already anticipate that there's animals getting hurt because it's literally Pet Sematary, right? And I just can't do that. I've actually read several books this year, like Murakami, one of his books in which animals are hurt. There was one right after that I read as well. I can't remember for the life of me what it was, but I read books back to back in which cats specifically were injured. And oh my god, I just can't do it. I'm sorry. I just really can't. It makes me cry. Ugh. Makes me sick to my stomach just thinking about it. Anyway. I will read more horror. It's actually not the genre that I've read the least of. If I have to say a genre I've read the least of, it's definitely mystery. I can't tell you if I've actually read a mystery novel. I've read true crime. I've watched a lot of it, of course. Anyway, my final thoughts on 19th Claws and a Blackbird. I'm glad I read it. It's a pretty short read, maybe 140 or 50 pages or so. I recommend that to you if you like short stories or you just don't have a lot of time to read. If you like Sandra Cisneros, for some reason they read in a similar way to me. Of course, that's also a collection of short stories, also told through different narrators and styles and whatnot. But yeah, I would say it didn't change my life. I still haven't read Tender as the Flesh, which I will, but yeah, that's my review. I think it's worth a read and excited to read more. and happy holidays. Bye. Hi, Ed and Megan here, and I have to tell you that I accidentally said a title wrong, so sorry. The one that actually was disturbing to me is the continuous equality of the circumference. Very interesting. And I also wanted to state that some of these I didn't feel like had a lot of substance to them, and I'm not sure if it's because I'm actually missing something or if they aren't very great. For example, perfect symmetry, I hated. I don't know, I mean, it's interesting and it's fantastical. This guy in prison asking a guard to get him ingredients to make food because he knows he's about to die, and then when somebody goes to kill him, the blood falls onto the plate and makes it perfectly symmetrical. I don't know, some of these just didn't grab me at all. And there was some, like the wolf's breath, it was extremely short. I don't know, my arm's shaking. Bye.